Hey everyone, this is Ben Glass. Welcome back to the Renegade Lawyer Podcast. This is Renegade Lawyer Podcast Special Edition Summit 2023, where I am interviewing our guest speakers. And so today on the line, I've got Clay Speakman. Clay was introduced to me through my son, Brian. Clay and Brian have a connection through the GoBundance organization, but then I think even more specifically through Spartan Racing. And Clay has got a really neat history. He'll flesh it out a bit more in a second here. But made his space in working with ultra high net worth individuals, a lot of technology, built technology companies surrounding that. But his hobby is as an adventure and endurance race competitor. He's raced in over 100 Spartan races, 11 ultra marathons, 2 Spartan agojis. I had to look up to see exactly what that was, and that sounds like awesome, but one death race. And Clay's sort of looking, he's launching something new for his life and for our lives in the space of grit. I'll have him talk about that for a moment, but he's coming to the summit in October 12 to 14 down in Orlando. So Clay, thanks for carving out some time to be with us on the broadcast today.
Oh man, thanks for having me. Anytime I can talk about grit, death race, Spartan, ultra marathons, that just makes my heart happy.
Well, as we were saying before we went live, my Brian, he's 40, he's the oldest of 9, and he found GoBundance, and then he found the Spartan race, and then he found that it really is much more than a race because you all are having masterminds with each other. Lots of people crammed into one Airbnb is what I hear, all muddy and sweaty from racing. And he just comes back from those meetings really, really effusive with lots of notes that he shares. And so as dad, it's interesting to watch his growth through there. But talk to us a little bit about your journey, because you've been in a couple of different spaces, and the ultra high net worth individual space is very interesting because most of us are not in that space. So tell us what you've done in your world, and then we'll talk about where you're headed next.
Sure. I grew up in the concert entertainment business. I went to school, got a business degree in music business in Nashville, Tennessee. I started working in the concert industry, and I just became the VIP director for what ended up being the largest concert company in the world at a pretty young age. And that's how I learned to work with most of my clientele, which were the ultra high net worth. The specific needs and fits for them just became a specialty for me. And eventually my company started building technology for that space and started building technology for family office groups and super high net worth organizations. And it kind of just became the niche that we filled. But along the way, as you mentioned, my hobby was Spartan racing, kickboxing classes, endurance events, ultra marathons. And I don't like to run. I tell people that as the first thing, I don't like running. How do you do all marathons? It's because it's the adventure that I love, right? It's the ancient feeling of I need to go out and conquer and explore. I need to be able to build things and make things and source my own water and find things without GPS and an iPhone in my hand. And that's really what drives my passion for what I call grit, or being uncomfortable on purpose, or that's just what it's about for me. And now I'm finally able to, I exited my technology company and I'm launching a new business to help people find their own levels of epic grit in themselves. And as you and I were talking about with Brian, everyone's got that level of ancient sort of instinct, desire inside of them, but we live in such a comfortable world, most people have never tapped into it. And when you do tap into it, it becomes an aha moment, like it was always there, just waiting for an opportunity to come out. But again, we live in such a comfort-driven world that we hardly ever call on ourselves to do hard things on purpose or to find a level of grit. But once you tap into it, it becomes a really enticing drug to keep going.
It's interesting because I imagine in undergrad, you didn't probably have this specific vision of concert industry. Oh, now I'd be associating with ultra high net worth individuals. And then I'm sure the opportunity was like just observing, like, what do they need? What is missing from their lives? And how could I fill that space for them. Talk to us a little bit about that, because a lot of what we talk about at our summits and in our group is looking for opportunities to make the world better, to make individuals better, and just being alert and aware for where I can help somebody themselves, like move to the next level or solve a problem. Talk to us about that journey, because I'm glad you didn't sit down when you were 8 and sort of plan this out.
No, I spent the majority of my career around super wealthy families and customers, and the formula for success is very similar in a lot of cases. It's you have to find unique ways to add value. The only difference is with ultra high net worth customers is generally they have enough money to buy anything that's sort of ubiquitous and available to everyone. So you can't add value in that way. You have to add it in a unique way to solve a problem that's difficult to solve without spending a lot of money, right? Meaning they have the money to solve the problem. These are problems that can't be solved by spending the money. That's where you have to find if you're dealing with ultra high net worth people. And you have to ask them, what's going on? What are the biggest problems? What are the biggest challenges that you're facing? And if you just cut right to the chase, what are the problems that you find that you can't solve with money, right? You're going to have some unique openings right there. You just have to put the puzzle pieces together and figure out how to solve it through other ways, because writing the check just is a pretty easy fix for that kind of clientele.
I think this is so applicable, for our lawyers, no matter who they are representing and who they are serving. Brian and I talk a lot about we're good lawyers, but there's a lot of people that are good lawyers, and a lot of people could deliver the level of service that we do. But asking questions about other people's lives and what outside of the lawyer box they're struggling with, a lot of times, many of our conversations with clients, and these are big connector conversations, are not about the purely legal, because the legal stuff is not, it's not rocket science, really, what we do. And so, I'm telling Bill all the time, ask curious questions and ask people where the struggle is, and be the connector if you're not the one that actually knows how to go and do the thing. Talk to us a little bit about, so you describe yourself as not a runner, don't really like running, but it's the adventure part. And I'm curious, what exactly is an agoge race event?
Yeah, there's an event called the Spartan Agoge, or Agoge, you could pronounce it either way. And it's held in a different remote part of the world every year. And the event is a 5-day sort of survival journey challenge / competition, but it goes back to the ancient practice in Sparta, Greece, where a 12-year-old boy had to go through what was about a 2-year period called the Agoge to prove his manhood. And it was so strenuous that some of the boys didn't make it alive. They died during the process, and that was sort of a way to weed out. But it was all about whether the boy had the grit that it took to cross into manhood, right? And it was something that every boy had to go through. So it was a rite of passage. But the idea with the event itself in today's world is that everything's so comfortable. Rarely do we have to go out and physically, mentally, spiritually prove ourselves and be put in that situation where we have to figure it out. And that's what the event is about. There's a competition aspect to it. I did one in Iceland. I did one in Mongolia. And it's just the ultimate test of what one person can handle. But it's something that I'll always remember. It was a life-changing event both times. And I probably never would have done the Spartan Death Race had I not been able to complete those 2 events, because even that's an even higher level of insanity, manufactured chaos. Everything is designed to make you quit, including a bunch of contradictory or impossible tasks that you're given that you have to complete, where there's no way to complete them. And even if you do, you're breaking another rule that you were told never to break. So that level of chaotic stress, once you've been able to navigate that, honestly, you wake up every day and you're like, these problems, they're not as hard as things I've already done. So I have no excuse not to go just tackle these problems I have today.
What's interesting about both of those races that this is not made for TV reality show, Survivor, get off an island, and you have a whole crew watching it. This is real life challenges with guys. And then I know that one of the things Brian loves, and we'll talk about the Epic Grit Club here in a second, and what you're going to talk about at the summit. One of the things Brian really appreciates with the Go Abundance group and the Spartan team are the mastermind events. So give us a little bit of an insight of what actually goes on a weekend when the team is together participating in an event, and then I think post-event you're holed up in a Airbnb or a mountain cabin someplace sharing. And I will also point out, for those who don't know, there's a lot of high worth individuals across occupational spectrums in these groups. I know that. And so tell us a little bit about what's going on, what sort of types of discoveries are made there.
So Spartan is a race company. They put on 5Ks, 10Ks, 20Ks, and 50K races. And these are obstacle races. You're running around, you're doing obstacles. But it's a great physical and a mental challenge for anybody. And I've done 100 or so of these races, and Go Abundance said, hey, we want to put together a Spartan race experience. I said, I'll volunteer. I'll be the team leader. And we built a mastermind program in the middle of the Spartan race weekend. So guys come in, we give them all the information about how to train, how to get ready, what to expect from the race. We do a pre-race dinner the night before. We do a mastermind where we open up and we talk about what's going on, what are the challenges you're facing, what do you need to get through these challenges, what's missing. And then we go do the race and we beat ourselves up physically, mentally. We get dirty, we get into the woods, right? We just get into the ancient feelings of conquering nature and overcoming obstacles. We come back, we clean up, and then we do another mastermind. And then we go much deeper into, things that probably people aren't prepared to share normally. When you beat yourself up physically and mentally, your soul opens up, and you find yourself with the guys that you were just running around on the mountain with, where you needed their help, you needed their support, you needed their encouragement. Sometimes you needed their physical help to get up over things. Now you're sitting around a fire and you're pouring out your soul. The masterminds have been incredible after that experience.
You are starting a new venture, the Epic Grit Club, and this is what you'll be talking about and what grit means at our conference. So folks who come to see you at your breakout, what will they get out of that talk?
Sure. Well, the first thing I'm going to talk about is, why does the death race teach us about life? And that's all about the ancient instincts that you have inside of you that are mostly dormant unless you physically bring them out. And two is, how do you manage total chaos, right? And it's all about doing hard things on purpose. The only way to get better at doing hard things is to do hard things. And you can either go do them on purpose, or you can wait until they come to you, right, and you struggle with it, right? Most comfortable people wait until hard things come. They don't pursue hard things on purpose. You got to flip it around if you want to be better at doing that. And that to me is everything that grit is about, is just going after hard things on purpose for the reason of it's hard. That's the only reason. Why do you park further away at a grocery store when there's spots that are closer? Because it's harder. Well, what's the benefit of that? It's harder. That's the benefit. Right? You get yourself used to doing harder things on purpose, being uncomfortable more often. And the Epic Grit Club is my first sort of, hey, let's get a group of people together who value grit, who want to pursue grit, and who already exhibit grit. I have some friends who are very gritty. They'll be in the club. I have some people who have no idea what this is about and realize I probably need some more of this in my life. They'll be in the club. We'll be doing grit type events all around the country. We'll be doing them about 12 times a year. And there's lots of adventure events. There's lots of, let's do hard things on purpose event, just because we all need more grit. And grit is the key ingredient for success more than anything I've ever seen. But it's something that you have to cultivate. You can't read a book about it. You can't watch a talk about it. You got to go do it yourself.
One of my mantras in our space is lawyers need to stop whining about how hard their lives are, because we really don't have hard lives. We work in air conditioned buildings, and you know, it's warm in the winter time, and we get all stressed out when there's too many things on the calendar to do. And you know, just so you know, like, we love talking to and hearing from folks outside of our space. People like you who are bringing a new dimension, new challenges, new insights. I think your room will probably be filled at the Great Legal Marketing Summit. And so again, we're so pleased that you said yes to Brian's invitation. I think it's coordinating with an event or a race you have, I think, in Georgia or something, either right before or right after Orlando. So this is going to be great. We're really looking forward to it, and I really appreciate you taking some time today to tell us about the talk and about your life, really, because it's inspiring.
Thanks, Ben. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right, thanks.